badly. And he won't hunger for, desire, or even want to look at any other woman who isn't you. I want you to participate in a fun little experiment. Number 1. Write down 3 mesmerizing sentences that I'll share here. Number 2. Pick any man you desire, even that man who has bluntly rejected you. Number 3. Text these sentences to him one by one late at night exactly as I'll describe. Then notice how a sudden avalanche of desire erupts inside him. First, his heart will start to race. Next, his breathing will get faster. And suddenly, he will experience 1,000 different feelings of passionate love that makes him want to possess you, capture you, and make you his forever and ever. These hidden messages are very quickly absorbed by the deeper parts of a man's mind that causes a rapid change in his body chemistry. This happens very quickly. In fact, you will probably see results overnight. Now, the same man who rejected you will turn into a love-drunk fool who wants to be near you more than he wants to breathe. If you're single, men will chase you to the point of madness and will make fools out of themselves just to win you over. The same commitment-phobic man will now desperately kneel at your feet and will gently slide a ring across your finger to seal the deal forever. It doesn't stop yet. That ex who went into the arms of another woman will now feel that every second away from you is a massive punishment and will be dying to make you his all over again. And that husband or boyfriend who has fallen out of love will now find you so irresistible that he will kiss you all night long and then start all over again the next day. Okay, I know you are skeptical, but I know this works because I am living, breathing proof of its results. It sounds pretty embarrassing, but not too long ago, I used to go through women faster than a box of Kleenex. With no intention of settling down with just one woman, I broke hearts like they meant nothing. Something inside me regarded every new woman as a challenge, and one of those challenges came with the name Valerie. I first saw her at a Halloween party where she was dressed as a princess. Being my usual self, I hadn't even said hello, but my mind was already imagining kissing her, holding her, and making sweet love to her. I moved towards her like a hungry tiger waiting to attack. I took one step after another, but urgently slammed the brakes when my eyes carefully scanned her. I noticed she had a plain, rather ordinary-looking face and was small and curvy. It was her thick makeup, heels, and the dress that fooled me. She must have been in her mid to late 40s, but dressed much younger. I quickly stopped my lustful thoughts because she didn't have the silky smooth skin, deep blue eyes, or long legs that go on for miles. So I packed my hormones away and danced around with other prettier women. I don't know if it was my luck, but later that night, I somehow ended up getting paired up for a dance with Valerie. As the dance and the night progressed, we got a little too comfortable. Nature took its course, and the rest was history. But you see, I treated every woman as a one-way train ticket, and this is where things got a little dramatic. Although Valerie had a warm heart, I wasn't attracted to her whatsoever. So, following my usual routine, I drifted away with no solid reason to do so. For the first few months, she obsessively called, but one fateful day she vanished from my life as quickly and quietly as she entered. I felt no guilt or shame. Actually, I felt relieved. But it all changed after a month when she texted me something mesmerizing late at night. The moment I read it, I felt this intense urge starting from my forehead, down to my spine, and then to the rest of my body. And I couldn't stop myself from begging Valerie to go out with me again. When we finally met, I started feeling that I was reconnecting with someone very dear to my heart. Someone very special. Someone I had always known. Now everything about her was turning me on emotionally. I loved how her light brown eyes danced when she smiled. I loved how a purplish pink blush climbed her cheeks every time she innocently looked at me. I even loved how freckles sprinkled across her cute little nose. Every little gesture, even the little flutter of her eyelashes and movement of her soft lips, was making my whole body tingle with pleasure. Just then, her hand accidentally brushed mine, and it sent currents of excitement through my body. Night turned into morning, and as she got up to leave, I kissed her once. I kissed her twice. And suddenly I knew I had to make her mine before anything could ever take her from me. I had never experienced a feeling this overpowering before, not even with the hottest of women out there. I spent the next few days completely lost in her. Now I was obsessed with knowing everything about her. From what kind of ice cream she liked to what music she enjoyed. Everything. Now, whenever a stunningly gorgeous woman hovered around me or gave me seductive looks, it just felt wrong. But whenever I was next to Valerie, it felt good. It felt exciting. And for the first time ever, it actually felt right. Now there was no longer an ounce of doubt in my mind that I was meant to be with Valerie. I might have not used the word marriage, but I was already mentally married to her. And that's when it all turned upside down. One evening I was at her place. We were giggling under the sheets, enjoying some romantic music. She held me close and gently stroked my face with her soft fingers. That gesture felt so good and so warm that I just couldn't hold my feelings anymore. I gazed deeply into her eyes and said, "Nothing is ever on my mind the way you are. I swear I don't know how to control myself around you. I could say I love you, but I think it's more than that. I am attached to you and I can't stop myself from loving you." And before I could say anything else, she kissed me. It was a long, sweet, and slow kiss. A kiss which confirmed that she was mine and I was hers. But just then, I felt something solid tucked away under the pillow. I gently pulled it out and it looked like a diary. The shock on her face confirmed that it had things she didn't want me to know. At first she begged me not to read it, but suddenly burst into tears, yelling out, "I was going to tell you, but I didn't want you to hate me. I really wanted you to like me. That's why I started learning about these tricks that make a man fall in love. And I am doing it using something called mesmerizing sentences, and I've been secretly using these messages on you." Much to my surprise, this didn't bother me. Actually, now I couldn't help but love her even more. I gently kissed her on the forehead and said, "I am glad you did this. You actually made me realize what true love really feels like." But now I wanted to know the whole story. Valerie told me that after I stopped talking to her, she was in so much pain that her cousin forced her to pay a visit to a psychologist. His name was Scott Foster, and he quickly revealed to her that he wasn't exactly a psychologist, but he was a specialized mind control expert. As a small proof of his superhuman capabilities, right in front of Valerie's eyes, Scott made one of his other clients send over this 17-word text to this habitual womanizer who left this client for another woman. Although this man wasn't responding to this client's texts since the last 11 months, within half an hour he miraculously texted back saying, "I am just dying to see you again. Please call me or text me urgently." This shocked Valerie beyond belief. Scott explained that he used something called embedded commands that can easily influence the brain and the body. He explained that these commands go straight to a special part of the brain called Insular Cortex that is responsible for creating emotions and feelings. He then said that certain commands known as mesmerizing sentences can make any man weak in the knees, uncontrollably romantic, and extremely turned on whenever you want him to. He added further, Scott had built up a large list of intensive commands that he called love commands and handed over a few to Valerie immediately. Valerie came up with a slightly evil plan. She reopened her old online dating profile and messaged a very cruel past date. This guy begged Valerie for a date for 3 weeks straight, but when he finally met her in person, he bluntly said, "I am really sorry, I can't do this. You don't look anything like your online picture." Valerie used the commands on him as instructed, and couldn't believe it when she saw a couple of texts from this very man next morning. He wrote, "Honestly, I was stupid for treating you the way I did, and I know this sounds crazy, but ever since I read your message, my mind hasn't stopped thinking about you." If that wasn't enough, Valerie was shocked to see his second message where he eagerly wrote, "Hey Valerie, I've been thinking about our little conversation all day, and it's difficult to say this, but I felt a connection between us. I don't want to push you, but I have to ask, would you like to meet me for dinner tomorrow?" At this point, Valerie was so excited that she could barely contain it. She rushed back to Scott to know more and discovered that these commands caused the male brain to release something called norepinephrine, also known as the excitement hormone. Have you ever seen lovers who are so head over heels into each other that they talk all night and can't go without a moment of longing to touch or see one another? That's because they're high on this very hormone. It leads to a special kind of love sickness where a man's imagination just can't rest, and he falls neck deep in love with whoever happens to be nearby when this hormone is circling his body. And this is when Valerie discovered something which changed her life forever. Scott had compiled a complete owner's manual that he called Love Commands. It had the complete list of every command, and it took him 20 years of dedicated research to create this. Valerie knew that she absolutely had to have this, whatever it took. So after a lot of begging, convincing, and arm twisting, Valerie finally managed to get her hands on this owner's manual, but with a very weird condition. I'll tell you about it soon, but by using these very love commands, she pulled me back into her life. Seeing this, a close friend of hers got extremely curious, and in her excitement, Valerie spoke a little too much. Her secret slipped out and passed from one person to the next. All her friends and their friends bombarded her phone with nosy messages, and now she was forced to share it with a small group of women. First, she shared the Candy Love command with her 48-year-old friend named Trish, who met this truly gorgeous fitness instructor. But this guy didn't like Trish as much as she liked him because he said, "I think we're too different. Let's just be friends for now." What he actually meant was, "You're too old for me." She applied the Candy Love command, and now this same man said, "I don't know what's happening to me lately, but the very thought of you puts a smile on my face," and then asked her if she would give him a chance to date her. Valerie shared the Be My Darling command with another friend named Layla, who was about to have a panic attack because her boyfriend packed his bags and was about to leave her. After using this command, this guy suddenly pulled her into a tight hug and said, "I'll never stop loving you and I'll never let you go. You are very special to me. Please forgive me." She also shared the Knot of Commitment command with another friend, Vivian, whose boyfriend clearly told her that he felt trapped in the relationship and was never going to marry her. Within hours of using this command, this same man said, "I want to be with you forever and will marry you 1,000,000 times over if I could." And then came the most hopeless case, where a woman named Julia wanted her ex back who avoided her for a whole year and was head over heels in love with another woman. Valerie gave her the Love Me Again command, and her ex got so desperate that he started saying things